Welcome to the debut of Habits of Leadership, where we'll be meeting business leaders and talking about their leadership triumphs and challenges. We will learn how their leadership has guided their company to success through their people. I'm Andrea Haran. I am your host and the coach at Focus Leadership. I'm happy to introduce my guest today, Bill Himmelstein, founder and CEO of Tenant Advisory Group. Bill, welcome, and thank you for being our guest today.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
I'd like to start out by letting our audience know who you are and who is a Tenant Advisory Group.
Sure. So what Tenant Advisory Group does is we work with small to medium-sized businesses to help them reduce their occupancy costs as well as utilize the space in an effective way that supports their culture.
Oh, fantastic. And do you do this in the city and in the suburbs?
We do it in the city, the suburbs, and all across the country. Essentially, wherever our clients have a need, we have the capabilities of assisting them in that market.
Oh, fantastic. Well, if you do that, there must be more people in your company than just you.
There is indeed. We have 8 people, and we're continuing to grow as our clients' requirements grow and as they continue to send our name out to the community and make referrals for us. So we are indeed growing.
Oh, fantastic. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
One thing that I know from working with entrepreneurs is that when you bring on that first person, life kind of changes. Tell us about what that experience was like.
It's scary, to be perfectly frank. Starting your own company, that has its challenges and some fears involved with that. But at the end of the day, you're only responsible for yourself. Mm-hmm. And I knew what I was capable of. I knew what who my network consisted of. I knew what my values were. And so when you start, you're relying on yourself, but you know what you can do. You know your work ethic. When you hire that first person, it's a game changer because now, not only are you responsible for yourself, but you're responsible for someone else's well-being and their family's well-being. And so it's a pretty scary step. And if I can elaborate a little bit more kind of how I approach that.
Oh, of course, please.
For me, it became extremely important to have the right job description. Because if I can lay out in detail exactly what I'm wanting someone to do, that's step one. Step two is describe the skill sets that I think will be able to accomplish those tasks or requirements of that, that position. And the next step after I drew that up was I went to my network. I went to the people that I knew and trusted, showed them the list of the tasks I needed somebody to accomplish and the skill sets I thought needed to accomplish those tasks, and asked them for help and said, who do you know that might fit this job description? And so it really became a lot easier from that point. But that's, it's quite scary bringing on that first person. Absolutely.
Yeah, and what I've also found is that giving up that control. Not that people are control freaks, but you're so used to doing everything yourself, and now you're handing over a piece to somebody else and you're putting it in their hands. How did that go?
Sure. I mean, I think that's a great point. So number one, you have to understand it's probably not going to be done as well as you think you can do it, nor as efficiently as you think you can do it. But you have to realize that when you're trying to scale, there's more work that needs to get done that you can possibly do yourself in a day. So I believe that it all starts with training and education of that person that you hire. And if you train them properly, they're going to execute properly. So you have to trust that the program you've put them through, the education and the training that you've put them through, is going to reflect properly in their work output.
Oh,
so I think
fantastic.
That's the key.
And during that training, do you help them, put together like expectations of what your expectations are from them like on a regular basis?
I think that's extremely important, Andrea. You have to have constant feedback and setting expectations, open lines of communication to say, okay, here's what I think that you're doing well at and you're exceeding expectations. Here's some things that maybe we need to work on. And it was basically I'm very hands-on.
Okay.
So it's a, I don't want to use the word laborious process, but it's a time-consuming process that you've got to go through if you want your team members to execute properly. You got to put in the time up front. It's just kind of the fact of the matter is you've got to put in the time up front so you can save the time on the back end.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that. I tell that to people all the time. So that's wonderful to hear. Now, one of the fun things about leadership, and I say fun, you know, kind of half jokingly, is that sometimes we have a tendency to stumble. We don't quite get it right. Do you have like one of those stories that you'd like to share?
You know, I do. Sadly, I probably have many, but when not getting it right, I think it's pretty evident when you hire the wrong person. Mm-hmm. And you usually are able to see that pretty quickly. And so, I mean, I will be frank, you know, I've made a few incorrect hires, and I think that's probably a poor reflection of my leadership at that time. So, you know, what I like to do with the people that I hire now is the steps that I talked about, the job description, the skill set, going to the network. The next thing I like to do when I'm talking to people, mm-hmm. I feel as if you can teach a skill set far easier than you can teach values and work ethic. So really what I'm looking for in people are similar values that I share and a strong work ethic. And once I kind of adopted that mentality, I've been very, you know, if I can pat myself on the back, I've been proud of my hires. I think they're wonderful people that I enjoy being around, and they deliver a great work product.
You know, I love hearing that. When I work with clients on leadership, the very first thing we talk about is what are your values? Because that is how you see the world, and that's how you're going to put yourself out there. So when you find somebody who has similar values, it just makes life so much easier because you're on the same page. You look at the world the same way.
Absolutely.
So that's great to hear that. I love that. We're so in sync. It's kind of scary. So that was the challenges. Tell us about some triumphs, some things that have gone really well and maybe exceeded your expectations.
Sure, and I wish I had more of those to speak of, but I will say that I'm very proud of my team that I've put together. I think I've found people with tremendous values, and you know, you could tell that they were just raised in good families and in good environments, and they're strong individuals. But you know, I guess what I'd be most proud of is the longevity of some of my team members. You know,
oh, that's great.
Where maybe they came out of college, and you think of this. You know, what's the name of the generation that's coming out of college?
The millennials?
The millennials.
Yes.
And we've all had our experience with the millennials, and you think of them as being, you know, maybe demanding, like, you know, I've been here 3 days, why am I not the vice president?
Yeah.
And I feel that I've found people that are very grounded, they've got strong work ethics, they've got strong values, and I think one of the reasons why we've had the longevity is this constant communication that we mentioned earlier, is that we've got an open dialogue about, I ask them all the time, tell me what's working. What are you enjoying doing? What do you not enjoy doing? Maybe we can get that off your plate and find somebody else to do something that you don't like doing. I'm always asking them about their goals. Where do they see themselves in 6 months, a year, 5 years? But it's really, I think, about a constant communication, because I think a happier workforce is a more productive workforce, and they're also going to be more loyal. If you can keep them happy and well compensated, I think you're going to garner a lot of loyalty through that. So I'd just say the long-winded answer there. My most proud, I guess, leadership is that I've got great team members that are starting to build some longevity with my company.
Okay, and I know that recently you brought on your wife into your company, so now it's technically a family business. That can be a challenge, you know, for people who are not part of the family. And how has that integration gone?
Well, first I would say it's the smartest thing I've ever done, aside from actually marrying her. I get to spend more time with her. She's a brilliant, brilliant woman that has a PhD in neuroscience. So her brain works totally different than my brain. but together it's one really good brain. But your question is, how did the other team members react to that? So they had all known her. She had kind of been on the ancillary edges of the business for a little bit of time. But the fact is my wife is an extremely personable and thoughtful woman, aside from her intelligence and beauty. But she was able to mesh very easily with the team members. And my understanding is that they're all very happy to have her there. I know I certainly am.
Oh, wonderful. That's great.
It's a great feeling. You know, it's funny. We used to spend the first part of our evenings together when we got home from work saying, well, what did you do today?
Right.
Well, what did you do today? Well, now we can skip that because we know what we did today, and we can go right into talking about our child or planned vacation, whatever it might be. But
something non-business related.
Exactly. And it's just been an absolute blessing. But again, the key, I think, with working with your spouse, I know this is a little bit tangential topic, but communication.
Right.
You got to have strong communication with all of your team members, even if that team member happens to be your spouse.
Okay, great. You know, we talk about leadership. You know, you talked about how important it was for you to find people with values. So, you know, the show is, you know, habits of leadership. So do you have a habit that you'd like to share with our audience that, you know, that has made you successful?
Yeah, it's very simple. I think a leader needs to set the example. So if you want people to exemplify certain values, you need to embody those values day in and day out. If you want your team members to have a strong work ethic, you need to have a strong work ethic. So I really feel that leading by example is the only way to do it. You know, do what I do, not what I say.
Right.
And so I've really been consciously striving to lead by example, make the ethical and high integrity decisions that I want my team members to make when I'm not around. Working when it is required and making sure that we get the work done and follow through with what we say we're going to do. Being punctual, you know, putting clients' best interests first. We have very simple values, but I think those values have really carried our growth. And by me working hard to show those values and show that work ethic, I do believe that it's been absorbed by my team members, and they most certainly exemplify those values as well.
Wonderful, and congratulations. Love hearing about businesses that are consistently growing, and then that's all due to you and your leadership. That's wonderful.
It's not surprising, but it's very fun and enjoyable, and I feel very blessed that and very humbled that we've got a lot of people that will reach out to us and want our services. So it's very nice.
It's great. Well, Bill, thanks again for being my guest today, and sharing your leadership with the audience.
My pleasure.
If anyone is interested in getting in touch with you, how can they do that?
Sure. So the best way to reach us is either by phone call, which our number is 312-775-4040. That's 4040. Or you can go to our website, which is www.tenantadgroup.com. It's TENANTAD as in David, GRP as in pool.com.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being here. And audience, thank you for tuning in today. Thank you.